Hello, Rivka. Hello to the UK. Hello to Großbritannien. Now, Rivka, where are you?
So at the moment, I am at a friend's place. I've moved in here for a period of time, short period of time, in the middle of the countryside, surrounded by farms. When I look to my right is a very long field with usually cows in it. And just beyond there is the sea.
That sounds beautiful. Wir hatten uns verständigt, liebe Rivka, weil du kannst sehr gut Deutsch und mein Englisch ist nicht so gut, dass ich Fragen auf Deutsch stelle und du kannst uns natürlich gerne auf Englisch antworten. Und ich freue mich sehr, 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 dass du heute mit uns sprichst. Wir haben uns ja kennengelernt im Rahmen des Coachings vom LAFT. Es war ein Coaching-Angebot, eine Weiterbildung für Mentorinnen. Damals habe ich das auch gestartet als Mentorin und ich war sehr, sehr beeindruckt von deinem Workshop. Das war eine Art von Weiterbildung. Und deine Herangehensweise ist es ja, den anderen beim Finden von Lösungen zu assistieren und nicht Lösungen anzubieten. Und das ist natürlich total schön und ermöglicht es dir natürlich auch für sehr, sehr viele Branchen zu arbeiten, was ja zahlreiche Unternehmen ja auch auf deiner Webseite geschrieben haben, weil du ja seit 20 Jahren, glaube ich, 20 Jahren mindestens als Coach auch arbeitest. Lydia, erzählt uns noch ein bisschen mehr über dich.
Well, because you and Franche met, as she described, we were also lucky at TAG Theater Aufbau Kreuzberg, our theater in Berlin, to encounter you and to have sessions with you and to revisit our own way of speaking to ourselves and to each other and reviewing those processes and how we could realize our dream of collectively working, really. And realizing not only the work, but also life. So finding a very good balance there. And but to introduce you properly, we cannot phrase it better than you can yourself, and therefore I will just give our viewers a very short extract of your own introduction. As a behavioral scientist specializing in the psychology and sociology of linguistics, with the expertise in understanding the impact of how we think and speak ourselves and others, in particular as to what is helpful, motivating, and liberating or hindering, demotivating, and even harmful in our communications with peers, public, and ourselves to achieve our organizational, global, professional, and personal endeavors. You assist people to live the lives they want to live, artists to ascertain their vision, locate the essence, and refine their practice. You assist companies to vision, align practice to values, and create working cultures that people engage with, where they flourish and enjoy working in. Okay, Rivca co-produces and co-delivers her work with a variety of UK, Europe, and worldwide based associates and organizations. Franche.
Ja, Rivca, du bist ja als Unternehmenscoach und gibst regelmäßig internationale Workshops zu Upwording. Was genau verstehen wir darunter?
Yeah, thank you for that. Upwording has become both an approach as well as a movement. When I say approach, what I mean is it's an invitation for us to notice what in our daily habitual language, in the way we speak to ourselves and speak to each other, including thinking to and about ourselves and about each other, might be helpful, motivating, or might be hindering or demotivating or even harmful. in our endeavors to live together, work together, flourish. And I would like to add shift systems, which is at the moment what many of us are very actively engaged in around the world. So the invitation is to notice.
Mhm.
And with that noticing, the invitation is to notice specifically where, in addition to what is harmful to myself or the dialogue I might engage with you, whoever you are in relation to me, as in motivating, demotivating, what on top of that might be upholding power over structures, positions of superiority or supremacy, coercion, and other such means or manifestations of power over structures, which we might also call dominating structures or authoritarian structures, and how these are still today extremely present in the way that we think and speak without us noticing. So the invitation really is to notice and to change it if we are interested in shifting away from systems of domination and obedience.
Kannst du uns ein Beispiel geben oder genau, könntest du uns da ein Beispiel geben?
So I will, yeah, you can, I'm going to give you a question actually, and also for those who are listening, which is, have a think about, how do you not like being spoken to? And just, you can just run that through your mind. How do you not like it, like people to speak to you? And that might be people close to you live with or people you're working with. And my guess is that what will have come up are things like patronizingly, being spoken down to, being ordered what to do or forced, being told who you are, what you like or not like, what you think, or what you do is good or bad, or right or wrong in particular. I guess you probably don't like being threatened. I guess you don't like being criticized or punished or manipulated, or spoken to aggressively, and the list goes on.
Yeah.
And my guess is that your reaction or response to that may be retaliatory, rebellious, resisting, or at worst sometimes resigning and doing those things that you might be told to do because of the consequences. And all of those essentially have an underpinning of threatening essentially needs of freedom and autonomy, of safety and security, or of fairness and equality. And so then my second question to you would be, do you ever speak like that to yourself? Yes, of course, plenty of times. And how impacting is it? How useful? How motivating? Not very. And the final question, do you ever speak like that to others? At home, at work? And again, at what cost? At what cost? So now the example I think I'm going to go to is, how does that manifest in words? So a really easy one to get to, and I would say probably the easiest to shift to a huge impact, positive impact, would be the idea of the order or the demand, the command. Because we need words to do those. We require words. And in fact, I've just used one, need. You need to do something. So they still fall out of my own mouth, even though I have practiced a lot. So, or a really stronger one where you can hear it is, you must do something. We must, we have to. do the application this evening. Yeah. And then the
I would love
question,
to do it.
well, you might love to do it, or you might be, and this is where upwarding comes in. Maybe it's not something you really love to do this evening. You might be willing to do it. You might be prepared to do it. You might just do it. You might want to or like to. And I think just the last bit on that is what I'm proposing is that actually by the time you have done or you are doing the application, you are actually making a decision to do it. Mm-hmm. You don't at that moment have somebody twisting your arm behind you, forcing you to do it. It might feel like it, but actually you have made a decision to do it then. You might also do it tomorrow morning, or you might have done it yesterday. So it's about really aligning the fact that we are making decisions with the wording that isn't externalized. It's not an externalized Diktat or even responsibility.
Also ich verstehe das auch als eine Form, sich sozusagen selbst zu befragen, wie spreche ich mit mir, wie spreche ich mit anderen. Und natürlich, glaube ich, sind Gewohnheiten etwas, was sehr schwer zu verändern sind, Rivca. Wie lange ist es denn bei dir gewesen, dass du praktisch, als du herausgefunden hast, dass Sprache natürlich auch unser Zusammensein und unser Zusammenarbeiten so stark bestimmt, um das wirklich in deinem Leben zu implementieren? Weil ich denke, es braucht Zeit, um das in seinem Alltag, in seinem Denken, in seinem Kommunizieren wirklich mitzunehmen.
Yeah, yes, I would say it does take time, and I would go, some things take less and some more, and for people it's really different. I think the biggest thing is a decision to do it, because I realize the impact it will have on my life and others as a better one, as in less cost emotionally, physically, to my health, etc. There's going to be a lot more motivation. And the moment there's a motivation, because I realize the impact that I really want, it's going to be much quicker because I'll practice it more. And I think that, for instance, the ones I've just mentioned, the must tos, have tos, need tos, ought, and also the should and oughts, which have a special place of a moralistic, hypothetical demand, are actually not that hard to shift. That unless we're not really willing to let go of the have to. Because there's something in the have to and the need to, which is I can externalize responsibility for all the hard work I'm doing. Somebody else or the system or the organization or the cultural sector is making me do it and I have to. It's very, very seductive. It's very tempting to hold on to it because it means that I'm not really responsible for all these things, and I'm not responsible for my stress. I can blame somebody else, and I can also point the finger to somewhere else for that to change or for them to make changes for me to feel better. So something very seductive around it. I think I've noticed in people, when there is that, I don't want to live anymore by an external diktat. I want to be responsible for the choices I make. And that means including saying no or not like this anymore. Actually, I would like to propose this instead. Therefore, I'm taking real responsibility or charge of the quality of my life and also the care of the quality for your life. Then I would say it goes really quite quickly.
Yeah.
It's a big step. It's a really big step. We're very good at going, don't tell me what to do. We seem to be still struggling in not telling others what to do or ourselves what to do. And that's the interesting thing, is we know exactly what doesn't work when it's from others to us. It's a very strong reaction. Mm-hmm. And yet we continue to do it because there's something about control. I want to be out of control and I therefore imbue the control with you. Or I want to be in control in relation to you because I need to find a way to make you do things that I believe you have to do. because I've decided they're important and you need to do it. And not only do you need to do it, you need to do it in that way and at that time. So it's quite interesting, this, what is it? It's not a conundrum, it's almost like an internal, don't tell me what to do, now go and do as I tell you.
Yeah.
In one breath.
We have to unhinge. Habits that we also feel come from a good place in a way.
They come from a good place to be safe.
But they have they make a big difference if they're changed. And our experience in running the theater is also that in order to make that possible and keep it possible, the underlying structure is really important to be reviewed in order for that to be one of the aims that we have as a group. And that has been very helpful, and this continues to be helpful for us, and not so easy. But let's come to your practical daily, weekly work. So I would like to ask you, what does a day look like, your working day and your working week before we come to Islington Mill?
So I like that question.
Mm-hmm.
I have noticed that my days are all different, have all become very different, each one.
Mm.
And it is also over a period of time that I have given myself that license or permission and learned to sit with my tempo. And as somebody else, I want to bring that in actually, somebody said, my temper. I mean, for them it was, they heard me say tempo and then understood temper. And I think it's quite interesting to go with that. And I've really noticed that I've started going with the energy that is alive. Mm. So over the last few weeks and months, but let's just go for these last few weeks, I have started, whenever my energy seems to be present, to do whatever I do that day. And that can be often start with work, or what would be called work. I love what I do, so it's easy.
Yeah.
And that has been the earliest 4:30 in the morning, and the latest not at all that day. And sometimes that day is a day in the middle of the week. Mm. It's rare for that to happen because I do have meetings that I schedule. So I think I follow the energy more. And of course I do turn up to the meetings that I have set and agreed to because I've chosen to agree. So there can be quite a schedule as well.
Yeah.
I'm learning more about how much to put into the back-to-back Zoom schedule or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds super great. To kennen, wenn man diesem Flow folgen kann und man alles in der Zeit schafft und man entspannt ist, trotzdem arbeitet, kenne ich auch, ist nicht immer leicht, finde ich, dort zu sein. Ein langer Weg. Seit 2019, wenn ich das richtig gelesen habe, Rivca, bist du Co-Artistic Director von Islington Mill.
Yes, I am.
Etwas davon. Was ist
yes, and I would like to combine something with what you've just said. May I?
Yes.
Just as an example, wenn man alles in der Zeit schafft. Mm-hmm. First of all, I would go, who is the man? So in English, that would be if or when one manages to do everything in the time.
Yeah.
So who is one? The statement can really be I.
Yes.
And what is alles or what is everything?
Alles, was man so machen möchte.
Right. The moment you take it to möchte, I think you're already dealing with a very different idea of time, because the time is there. The time is, well, we could argue about whether the time is fixed or not. Well, we have fixed it in a time which for many of us is 24 hours.
Yeah.
There are different time variations. For a lot of us, we're working in this 24-hour stretch. So we know exactly what is available. And therefore, we are choosing what to put in it. And therefore, what we are achieving or schaffen is entirely up to us in relation to what we choose to put in it. And I think the moment you take choice over that, really take that responsibility, then you will achieve everything. And the other thing I would say, and this relates to Islington Mill and the work that I do there with others, is schaffen, the word achieve. Is it the most appropriate word nowadays? Is it that we wish to continue to achieve, which is quite, you could argue, quite a capitalist endeavor? I've got to do a lot. I'm using that word now purposefully. I have to make a lot happen. I have to achieve. I have to have outputs, deliverables, tangible things, because the more of those I have, quantity, maybe not so much quality, but quantity certainly means I am valuable. I have value. I'm busy, I achieve, I have value, I am important, I have a right to be, etc., 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 etc. So a lot in that sentence, but and thank you for, I hope that was okay to play with that sentence.
Yes, please. Ich genieße es jedes Mal mit dir, Rivca, wieder mehr zu bekommen.
And it's not about, you know, I think it's really important, and it's a real invitation to self, is not to become a word policing thing. You know, of course, I'm picking up on your words, and with permission, I'll make observations. I have learned not to make these observations without permission. It's really, really crucial, because otherwise I'm doing exactly that which I'm proposing we cease and release into the past, which is what you should do and how you should speak. It's not that. It's about freeing ourselves from these constraints that we maybe haven't asked for a long time, if ever. Where are they from? And maybe once I know where they're from, of course, there's expectations, assumptions. Am I actually upholding these without wanting to uphold them? But actually we're wishing to dismantle them in the greater space of, or the greater concept of healthy working practices. It's been on the agenda for a very long time, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So sorry, what was your question about Islington Mill? Please say it again.
Was ist Islington Mill? Und ich weiß, dass du vor einigen Jahren schon begonnen hattest, das Leitungsteam zu coachen. Und jetzt bist du ja Teil des Artistic Director. Wie hat sich das verändert? Auch wahrscheinlich durch das Coaching. Wo war das, als du angefangen hast, sie zu coachen, und wo seid ihr jetzt?
Okay, so yes. I'm amazed you remember that. So yes, a few years back now, I did come in and did a number of things, including facilitating conversations when they might have been around difficult areas or with differing opinions, facilitated also conversations that led to a creative project around Manchester International Festival, around the opening actually.
How many people are there? Wie viele Leute seid ihr?
Well, there's 4 of us, and the total team is 10. 10, 11, 9, 10, 11. And it also has history of a fire in the building where several people died, including children. Because, of course, children at that time would be working in the mills under very difficult, circumstances and hours. So, but the mill was bought by one person, one of the 4 joint directors in the late 90s, I think, 2000s maybe, and became, within a period of time, potted history, a place with a number of studios across 4 floors of the building and adjacent parts of the building, adjacent segments. And there is a 5th floor and a sort of a mezzanine 6th floor. And in these studios are a number of artists. So artists rent studios, or let's say artists and craftspeople, and bands, and TV companies, and textile teams, groups, individuals, and radio stations, and. So it's as far as I think I'm correct in saying, it's the full breadth of arts and crafts represented within the building. And we have built temporary extra units in which there are more artists. So we by now have, I think, around 200 artists present in single or shared studios. Of that, there has been an artist B&B. So we have had residencies. We've had artists come from all over the world, and often regularly, to take up residency for days or weeks. On top of it, we have spaces. We had a club for a long time called the Fat Out. And we have space at the moment in the units where big dirty things can happen.
Like theatre.
We have just built a little theatre in what used to be a fridge. And we still have bigger space where things can happen that are really big and dirty, and and we have outdoor space. So these artists, basically the business model is artist rent studios. That is where the income comes. We are in a period of a lot of development to actually create a very safe space for the artists to continue to be in an environment that is safe. In addition to us creating space where people feel safe, because they have different ways of being. And I'll just add 2 things. The B&B, or the artist residency space, has become the first testing of a queer housing co-op. We are in itself a very queering space. And in addition to textile, the other columns or pillars that we're working with is, so it's textile, art, activism, queering, and oh my God, heritage. Of course, heritage, which is the one I started with before. So everything we do has a focus on, if not all, then certainly some of those.
Wie habt ihr das geschafft, Rivca? Weil ich weiß, es war ja nicht immer, das, was du jetzt beschreibst, ist ja ein großes Haus mit vielen Künstlern, mit wahnsinnig divers. Und soweit ich mich erinnern kann, hast du mal erzählt, dass es ja nicht immer so war.
Yes, it has been on the basis of anything that was done by the earned income through the studios. What that actually facilitated, and we really want to protect that, is a space where there was freedom for the possible. Anything that happened because people wanted to make it happen, not because a grant enabled that to happen. So it is for us quite new to be dealing with, I think by now it's something like, what we're managing is around 10 million at the moment. It's a lot to manage with quite a small team. We are now finding ourselves for the first time in a place where there are things to do that we have asked for. We've had the support, and we have agreed to do those things, which of course are things we want to do. With it comes a huge amount of bureaucracy and paperwork, especially with the European money, and dates and times and deadlines and And we're really, really working to continue to remember, in the way we speak about it, that the funds are there to serve the purpose. and that we don't shift, and it's easy to shift, and we do fall into going into language of what do we need to do to satisfy the funder, or this idea that's just come up here, that would be great, that would really fit into that fund. And we're going, no, let's really keep that actually, and that fund, whether it's any one of the four we have at the moment, really fits that idea. So the two fit together, the two work hand in hand, because we are artist-led, and we're learning what it actually means to be artist-led, which is not just be led by people who are artists. Well, it means by people who are practicing artists. It also means that the art leads and the fund supports.
Yeah.
And the conversation with the funders are at this level. We're working with in partnership.
Yeah.
So we're taking the stress out. I mean, there's a lot more I could say, but yeah, we're in that interesting space, and we're really wanting to get to that place where things can happen because the idea comes up now. We can be responsive, and that we have the facility financially, as well as building wise, to be able to respond immediately.
Of cultural managers, let's say, providing the space and the infrastructure for art to happen, that is happening there, and that is obviously, going outside of that building and having an impact there. And then, but I thought, my experience is that we as a collective can say, Rivca, can we have a session? So what is usually the point where people are when they realize they need you?
The question is, when do people call me? Because I continue to be freelance. I run Upwording, and I'm also a co-curator of the grandreunion.net, which is a year-long conference, symposium. People call me because they are not as happy as they would like to be in their working environments or their home environments, or in their individual microcosms of themselves environments. And with some organizations I work over a long period of time. There's one that I accompany at the moment for nearly 2 years, a much bigger organizations than ours. But there will be others, for instance, that I will do. And it's not always when things are not good. It's also a lot of visioning. So I did one big day of visioning 2-3 years ago with the Forestry Commission in England about the next 50 years. So I do quite a few shorter things around facilitating the visioning. How does the company want to be in that time? Or why are we even here?
Yes.
Why are we still doing what we're doing? Let's just take a pause and a check.
Yeah.
Just because we're used to it, or because actually we have something we wish to, continue to provide or provoke or facilitate. So, and of course it's mainly in the cultural sector, but not only. I work beyond the cultural sector. So.
And do you feel that there's a growing demand for that kind of, introspective moment in order to, ameliorate, French coming in, improve?
C'est bien, l'améliorer.
To improve the working or the living environment, do you think, is there an increase in the demand or awareness?
I think it's a rhetorical question, that. Isn't it?
Yeah.
I think the answer is in the question. The response is in the question. Yes, I've noticed. I mean, it's been on the agenda for a long time. I mean, certainly the last 2-3 decades, there has been a lot of call of work-life balance and more healthy working practices and caring for ourselves, or sometimes it's caring for ourselves in order to be able to care for others, or it's really important to care for each other. Well, I can't do that unless I care for myself. And I think we've been talking about it a lot. We've been doing a lot of reading and buying books and listening to podcasts and audio. I'm not sure how much we're actually translating into day-to-day doing it yet. So the question is there, the desire is there. It's almost like we have to care more for ourselves is there. I think there is a big step, or there is a step to take, to actually really putting that into practice, and to be brave enough, to be courageous enough, and to go, this is what I know I can and want to and will do. And the reason I'm saying that is, and to know that other people can trust me and I can trust myself, that I'm stating that because I want to do the best at my most resourceful.
Yeah.
And I want to also do that to give other people the possibility to go, this is what I can, will, want to do at this moment in my life, with all the other things that are going on around me. There's stuff going on around, there's death around, unexpected. Death is generally not so expected, but there's an additional, there is struggle, there is suffering, there are people who have lost a lot, there is change happening, there is not necessarily desired change happening.
Yeah.
There is an invitation to give up, to stand aside, to stand beside, to stand up for, to stand out, to speak out. There's a lot going on. So what actually is my capacity at a level of resourceful? How can I ask for a healthier world if I'm not doing my own world healthier? And how can we continue to accept stress at work when we know the cost of the stress? Because it's not only to my own sleeping pattern, and it is also to my irritation, which will come out at you. It is also to me getting sick probably easier, which will cost the company time, my time and money. And will also be that I might be making some decisions or errors that have a cost involved, and we're still doing it. And I'm really, really wishing us to challenge and go, enough. Let's go for periods of stretch, and let's really be caring and kind there. And I think, and I really have noticed, not just I think, I've noticed that if you really want to go by productivity, it goes up. I don't want to measure by productivity, but I think because the mistakes are reduced, we are being more productive, as in more, and I'd rather use the word effective. And we might even do it at times quite efficiently. But I think it's also really important to look at that it's the effectiveness that drives, and the efficiency is a means that I may wish to operate in. And sometimes to be inefficient might be the most creative thing I can do.
Das ist ein super Endwort, finde ich, von dem Gespräch. Vielen herzlichen Dank, Rivca. Ich hätte dich gerne gefragt, wie die Zukunft der Arbeit aussieht, aber ich glaube, du hast schon sehr, sehr viel darüber gesprochen, dass wenn wir eine andere Welt wollen, dass wir anfangen können, bei uns zu gucken, inwiefern, wie sind wir mit uns und mit anderen, und nur das kann irgendwas verändern.
Absolutely.
Vielen Dank.
Yeah. Thank you
No, thank you very much, Rivca. It's very inspiring. There are the little hooks that you place in what you say that make the shift nearly happen, and it's very beautiful to keep going to that point, to think, oh yeah, it's possible, and it's really feeling good already when I guess it even. So
it's possible and it's feeling good already, and how can we support ourselves and each other to do that? I think the fear is that we might think we become lazy. I've not seen it. It's a bit like the sort of basic income, where people are fearing that people will just take the mick. There will be some.
Yeah.
Of course, there are always some people, and there will be a reason for that too.
Yeah.
But I think actually it just means that we can really begin to savor.
Yeah. That's it.
Life very differently, and like you say, Francia, it's about a choice-based living, which is not about necessarily having choices available. I'm not making that argument that we can all choose all the time. We can't. There's a lot of things that we have no control over, but what we can always do is to choose how we respond in any given moment or situation.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much. We look forward to more in our circle. And we wish you all the best for today, for the week, for the near future.
And you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me. Great.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All the best.
All the best. Thank you.